The M2 Max MacBook Pros are official now because we have leaked benchmark performance results. Now I'm gonna be sharing those with you along with some very weird things, how it performs to the M2 chip, what kind of nanometer process this seems like it's on, and why this is extremely weird. Now, we've been talking about the M2 chips for a long time, the Pros, the Max. We've been anticipating these machines, talking about 3 nanometer versions coming out and the performance that we'll get from that. And even though a lot of us thought we were gonna have a November event, that obviously didn't happen. Apple pushed it back. So was it worth the wait? Well, Shrimp Apple Pro was actually the one that pointed out these benchmarks first. He's a leaker that is very, very accurate. And here we're showing 12 cores, 96 gigabytes of RAM. So that's a nice upgrade from the 64 gigabyte for those that need it. We also have a little bit more info about the core configuration. Now we've known that we're gonna have a 12 core for a while. So we're still up in arms about, is it gonna be 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency plus upgraded graphics? Or on the M2 Max will be 10 performance cores, 2 efficiency, and then extra graphics. And I'll let you guys know what I think it's looking like based on the performance numbers we have. So let's dive right into it. Here are the numbers. We have 1,853 and 13,855 for multi-core. Now this was the first leak, and as you see, I am very disappointed because these numbers do not look good at all in any way that you look at it. Now, if we go ahead and compare it to the M1 Max, that got 12,333 for multi-core. That is only a 12% difference in performance, and that is a shame if it's gonna be a year and a half later. Intel's done even better than this. Now, looking at the single core, we have 1,853 compared to 1,755. That is only a 5% improvement in performance. That doesn't make any sense at all. Now, for those of you guys that think that this might be a fake leak, well, if we take a look lower here, it literally says we are running macOS 13.2. This was said to be a beta that's actually unreleased even to developers. This means that it's somebody at Apple most likely, or maybe somebody they gave the laptop to test, because this software isn't anywhere. And that also makes this leak a lot more likely that it's legit. Now we also see that it's labeled the Apple M2 Max. It shows 12 processing cores. There's no processor right now that's 12 cores from Apple Silicon. We have 3.54 gigahertz for the frequency, so faster than M1 Max, and 96 gigs of RAM. Now I went through all of these single scores here and I compared them to the M1 Max, and I noticed that the crypto score was actually a lot lower on this new M2 Max than the M1 Max. Now there were a few different results that had some nice improvements, like camera, for example, PDF rendering. We also had speech recognition, but for the most part, everything lined up almost identically, which doesn't make sense. And if we compare it to the M2 MacBook Pro, the single core score is a lot higher, and the multi-core score is also fairly high on that chip. Now that is also a 5 nanometer chip, not 3 nanometers. So why is a 5 nanometer chip that has been out here for half a year now or more going to be beating out in single core the M2 Max once that comes out, which would be likely a year after the M2 Air and M2 Pro? I also looked through some of these single performance results, and a lot of those actually matched up to the M2 Max, which is showing that the performance of that is likely on par with 5 nanometer M2, not 3 nanometer M3, but it actually gets worse. We did a little bit of math on the M2 chip in the performance of its performance cores versus efficiency, and when we grab the single core score and we multiply it, we get 7,764 for the performance, and that leaves us with 12,903 for the efficiency cores, which are 4 of those, 323 per efficiency core. Now the best league performance score I found for the M2 Max had 1,889 for single and 14,586 for multi-core score. Now that gives us 18% better performance than the M1 Max for multi-core, and then 7% for single core. Still not great. nowhere as near some of the gains that even Intel and AMD have been getting with their latest upgraded processors. Now, doing the same math, if we are gonna have 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency for 12 cores, we'll get 15,112 multi-core score if it could scale and it doesn't have extra heat issues, which the cores are similar there. And then we have to add in the performance of the efficiency cores, because with the M2, they are pretty powerful, and that gives a total of 16,405, and that is almost 2,000 points higher than the best score that we see. Now that is about 30% faster than the M1 Max, and that is going off of the lower performance count and going off of the M2 chip that is 5 nanometer, old design, and still that would actually be a reasonable result, not what we're seeing in these leaks. Now, we also had talks of the M2 Max having 10 performance cores and 2 efficiency to better differentiate it from the M1 Pro, because with that, like the M1 Max and Pro, we told people just get the M1 Pro if you use CPU-based tasks, performance is the same. So that would help people want to upgrade. And if we had that, if we do the math, that would give us 18,890 for the performance cores, 10 of those, plus the efficiency, 19,500. Now that is based off of 5 nanometer. If they could keep it cool, of course, which I don't know if they can, probably they cannot with this configuration. And that would be a game changer of a laptop. That is what we want, that's what we've been waiting for. But of course, if it's on 3 nanometer, they could achieve this performance and better in single core, but at the same time, it would run cooler and take less power, and we'd be able to achieve something like a 19,500. And we thought we were getting 3 nanometer because this machine got pushed back, but it looks like off of these scores, it is 5 nanometer, and actually even worse than the M2 by not scaling as well. And that is a huge bummer if this is true. Now there's still a chance that they could have multiple versions. They have a 5 nanometer version, 3 nanometer version, they're trying to choose. This could be one of the older machines and they might have pushed it back for 3 nanometer. These chips should be ready in time. So we're hoping for that, but of course with the economy and everything that's happening, Apple could want to wait to release a 3 nanometer. It's gonna cost a lot more when more people are gonna be willing to buy, hopefully later down the line. But that would just really suck. That would mean we're waiting another 3-4 months and then another 1.5 years for a much better 3 nanometer M3 Max at that point, which is what we all want, and the machine that would be super quiet, cool, and extremely fast. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Click that circle button to subscribe, check out one of those videos right there, and I'll see you in the next one.